You're listening to The Marketing of Business. This is your host, Bonnie Squires. We're coming to you from WWDB, that's 860 on your AM dial. And our sponsor is ACT, Advertising Communications Times. That's the region's trade newspaper that tells you everything you need to know about attracting clients and keeping clients as far as communications is concerned. And our guest today, we're in the artsy, craftsy mood today, and we've got Gina Michaels and John Phillips, and Gina is the sculptor, and John is a sculptor, photographer, and does restoration of especially Philadelphia outdoor sculptures, the really big ones, right, John?
Yes, absolutely.
What's the tallest piece of sculpture you ever worked on?
Clothespin. Actually, City Hall.
Oh, City Hall.
Yeah, it's about 500 feet up.
Did you have to go 500 feet up?
Yeah, I went all the way up. My helper was so terrified he could only look at the floor of the elevators. We rattled up there. And we got my welder up there, and I was welding up on those figures right below Billy Penn.
And did you have some kind of safety harness or something when you were out there?
No, just saying some prayers. You get used to it after. It takes you a little while to get acclimated to being that high up, but it's not that. It was excellently scaffolded. So my hat's off to the scaffolding people. Those are the guys who need some lanyards and whatnot. It was just walking in a park, really. Not that bad once you got up there.
That was your highest sculpture. Your largest sculpture that you worked on would probably be the Iroquois by DeSuvero.
How about the clothespin? That's
or
up
the clothespin.
there. Yeah.
Oh, the clothespin right across from City Hall.
Yeah.
That's gigantic.
It is.
The reason that Gina knows so much about John's work is because Gina Michaels is married to John Phillips, although she uses her name because she's an artist in her own right. Correct, Gina?
Correct.
And she does amazing things with sculpture. We saw some of them at lunch today. And I love when you do a whole sculpture out of hands and feet. What was the one called that was all feet?
Jacob's Ladder. This is my homage to Brancusi, and it's 10 feet tall with feet in a kind of a inverted pyramid shapes.
Whose foot did you use as the model?
Mine.
Oh, okay. All right.
About 20 times. Left, right, up.
Left, right.
Up to the sky you go.
Okay, 10 feet. Ooh, good pun. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages.
The major holidays are almost upon us. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year's. Are you prepared for your holiday party events and other needs? Call Whims for Rent. They are a professional event planning company and can package your entire business or personal holiday event, or simply provide specific needs. They provide entertainment such as DJs or three-piece bands, Christmas carol choirs, or even Santa Claus. Other entertainment possibilities include walk-around magicians, fortune tellers, or look-alike celebrities. They aid large corporate events, smaller business attractions, and family affairs. Just tell them your goals. For a free consultation and free ideas, contact Whims for Rent at 484-562-0067. Again, that's 484-562-0067. They are located at 29 Bala Ave in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania, or visit them on the web at www.phillybizmedia.com.
The internet today is a must for businesses and organizations to represent themselves. A must. For the generations of business owners who did not have the advantage of an internet education beginning in grade school, there is basic help. Call American Advertising Services at 484-562-0060. Our organization of marketing personnel, traditional and IT, will set up basic internet advertising aids for your business or organization at a modest fee. Basics. No big deals, no big costs, just basics. Plus a free get-to-know-your-goals meeting. Call American Advertising Services at 484-562-0060. That's 484-562-0060. Be with it, or else you will be out of it. Again, call American Advertising Services at 484-562-0060.
Need a speaker for your business meeting, organization, social group? Need a speaker who is entertaining, informative, or both? Need a speaker who is an authority on a subject close to your interests? We provide them. We are this region's Speakers Bureau. Call us at 484-562-0067. 484-562-0067.
The championship competition for the world's best German Shepherd dogs is coming to the Philadelphia area. The German Shepherd Working Dog Competition, featuring the top German Shepherds from countries around the world, will be held inside the PPL Park Thursday, October 17th to Sunday, October 20th, 2013. The event is open to the public and is a wonderful family event. The championship competition for the world's best German Shepherd dogs, October 17th to October 20th. Watch as these dogs perform amazing tasks such as tracking, obedience training, protection maneuvers, and more. Tickets are on sale at pplpark.com. That's pplpark.com. Or call Comcast Tickets at 800-298-4200. That's 800-298-4200.
St. Joseph's University is committed to developing everyday champions to help ensure student-athletes prepare for personal and professional challenges they will face throughout their lives. They want great athletes, but more than that, they want great people. Young men and women to excel as students, teammates, leaders on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. Your passion and support of St. Joseph's student-athletes make the difference. By making a gift to the Hawk Athletic Fund this year, you help in developing everyday champions. For more information or to make a gift, visit SJUHawks.com/champions.
Welcome back to the Marketing of Business. This is your host, Bonnie Squires. Our sponsor is ACT, the business-to-business newspaper that tells you everything you need to know about advertising and public relations in the Delaware Valley. We're coming to you from 860 on the AM dial. That's WWDB with their beautiful studios in Bala Cynwyd. And our guests today are John Phillips, who is a sculptor, a photographer, and also has a foundry where he casts in bronze, John?
And aluminum.
Bronze and aluminum. And his wife, Gina Michaels, who is a sculptor and does amazing things with using casts of her fingers and her feet. Right, Gina?
Hands, feet.
But I love the one. I thought it was a sculpture of a fern until she pointed out that those were her fingers that were attached to the spine of the of what I thought was a fern. Anyway, John, how do people contact you if they want something restored, a piece of sculpture that they're fond of, they want restored, or how the city contacts you?
Well, the city knows me very well by this stage of the game. I've done a lot of work for the city, like working on the Rocky sculpture, or working on the Great Mother and the Great Doctor in front of the Youth Study Center before the Barnes was moved there, or fixing up the fountain
sculpture.
Or fixing up the fountain on the plaza of the Art Museum in the front of that, or any number of things. So they know me very well, and they usually clients call into the conservation department of the art museum. They might have a question about how to fix a sculpture up, so they might refer those people to me. That's jobs have come that way, or my students. I teach at the University of the Arts, so they can hear about me through the teachers and the students in the Center City area. I sometimes get jobs there, like I fixed up the Billy Goat. That was my first restoration job.
Oh, in Rittenhouse Square.
Yeah, I almost got locked up doing that.
They thought you were doing something obscene to the Billy Goat?
Not obscene, just the city took their time trying to fix it, and the Friends of Rittenhouse Square hired me, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that they weren't associated with the city, so I started fixing it up. And then Michael DeSanto showed up and thought I was destroying the Billy Goat, so we had a little tit-for-tat there, and Michael and I became friends after that. So.
I love it. You can always tell that people like to rub the nose of that goat sculpture because that's shiny, and the rest of it has the patina, I guess, of the original.
Right. Well, a lot of it's worn off. Little kids like to climb up on it. They actually wore a hole in the ear. that's what I was there to fix that day. And the people, the friends of the Rittenhouse Square, were afraid that a little kid would get his finger stuck in there and then slip off the goat.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of a serious thing. But, it's hard. The city has so many sculptures, and it's hard to keep up with the maintenance of all of them. So it's a Herculean task. And,
if people are interested and want to talk to John Phillips, they can reach him at 267-303-1355. That's 267-303-1355. Or they can Google his website, which is www.phillipscasting.com. Phillips has 2 L's in the middle. Mm-hmm. Right, John?
Yep.
And I taught for a semester at University of the Arts, but I taught public relations.
Neat.
But the kids are wonderful, and they're so talented because when you walk through the halls, you see on display everything that they've done,
right.
Their films, their artwork. Amazing kids. Now, Gina, where did you study art?
I studied art at Oberlin College, where I went to college, and then I spent 2.5 years studying at the New York Studio School. I lived in New York for 15 years. And the New York Studio School was a funny hybrid where we did work from the figure. So I spent 2.5 years, including summers, drawing from the figure all morning, every morning, and all afternoon, every afternoon. But we didn't come at it from an academic perspective. We came at it more from the lineage of Hans Hofmann. So looking at it, going into abstraction and how to construct figures within the picture plane. So it was a very interesting. It's a very interesting time.
Were any of your instructors well-known artists, sculptors in their own right?
They absolutely were all working artists who were known. They were artists. So they were very well known within the artist community. They weren't the big names, but they had all been part of the whole Cedar Bar crowd in the early 50s with Jackson Pollock and the 40s.
That's a nice name to drop, yes.
And a lot of the whole New York school, they were very much a part of that. And then I worked in New York for a number of years as an artist, and in 1990 I decided to move to Philadelphia.
Why did you decide to move to Philadelphia? Yeah. If New York, which calls itself the center of the universe, I disagree, but because I'm a native Philadelphian. But what made you move to Philadelphia?
Well, it's interesting because I was part of a trend before I knew it was a trend. I had a couple of friends who had moved down here from New York, and
survived, right?
And survived and thrived. And one friend in particular had told me that artists really work in Philadelphia. They're in their studios. They're not spending all their time holding down 3 jobs and running around to openings. And I was ready. I was ready to leave New York. New York, at that point in 1990, it was still a very tough place. It's changed enormously since then. And I thought, well, if I drop this veneer of being this tough New York artist, then who am I? What's going to happen? And I had a number of friends who lived here, but really I moved here on a hunch.
Where did you live when you first moved to Philly?
I found a place off Rittenhouse Square on Waverly Street. It's this tiny little street with Trinities. And I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I got my graduate degree there. I had always wanted to get an
Fine
MFA.
Arts.
Yes, I had always wanted to get my MFA. It never kind of worked out in New York, and I decided that once I moved to Philadelphia, going to school was the thing because I didn't know where to live. I didn't know where to get a studio, and that worked out really well.
And how did you meet your husband? That's an interesting story.
I met John Phillips. The first time I heard about Phillips Casting, I was actually in the back of a van under the 59th Street Bridge on the FDR Drive in New York, going from one opening to another with sculptors that I had met through random circumstances that are way too complicated to explain right now. And they said, well, where do you do your casting? I said, well, I go to Loran Bronze in Chester. They said, what about Phillips Casting? It's in Germantown. Well, I had never heard of Germantown until a couple of months before when my studio mate said that she was moving there and did I want to come with her. So I had just moved to Germantown. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. And I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And I called John to get a bid because I had a potential for a commission, which never came through, for 2 life-size figures. And he gave me a very high price. So I didn't go back. Had I gotten the commission, I would have called him and said, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. But I didn't go back. And then people kept telling me in the most strange circumstances that I should go to Phillips Casting. People who really knew about casting. They said, John Phillips does it all himself, and you'll really get fine work.
Hold that thought, because we're going to take some messages and come back and find out when the romance began.
All American Sports Collectibles is the only place you need to know for all your autographed sports memorabilia. Jerseys, bats, helmets, and more, signed by legends of the past and today's greats. All autographed items come with a certificate of authenticity, plus an unconditional 30-day money-back guarantee. And all vintage items have been scientifically authenticated and come with 2 forensic certificates. Call us at 877-827-7822. That's 877-827-7822. Visit us online to see our extensive inventory of autographed sports memorabilia. That's aasportscollectibles.com. That's aasportscollectibles.com.
We're a Philadelphia advertising agency, American Advertising Services, and our job is to create solutions for your business problems. Do you want more customers, more sales for your products or business services? American Advertising has helped many, many area companies, large ones, small ones, family-owned firms just like yours. If you are in business and serious, make American Advertising your advertising agency. Per job assignments welcomed. American Advertising Services. We are serious about helping your business.
American Advertising Services is located at 29 Bala Avenue, Bala Cynwyd, PA 19004. 29 Bala Avenue, Bala Cynwyd, PA 19004. You can call them at 484-562-0060, 484-562-0060, 484-562-0060.
We're back with the marketing of business. This is your host, Bonnie Squires. We're coming to you from WWDB. That's 860 on your AM dial. And our sponsor is Advertising Communications Times, ACT. That's the business-to-business regional newspaper that tells you everything you need to know about the advertising world in the Delaware Valley. And we've been speaking with John Phillips, who is someone who restores massive sculptures outdoors, in addition to being a sculptor and a photographer in his own right, and his wife, Gina Michaels, who has her own studio, who is an amazing sculptor as well. And she was telling us how the love story started when she called him for a bid to cast in bronze one of her pieces of sculpture. And what happened then?
Well, I did end up going to John's studio, and what I was really excited about was that I had not learned to cast in bronze at the University of Pennsylvania, which I had hoped to do. And there was someone who was incredibly generous with his time and information. So we eventually...
John, I have to ask you, why were you so incredibly generous with your time and information? You must have liked what you saw the minute Gina walked in the door, right?
No doubt.
Was it love at first sight for you, John?
Well, I knew I had a hot number on my hands, and so it was very hot too. So she was very attractive. She's turning purple
in the studio.
That's
it's a good thing we're not on television.
Yeah. But she was very attractive and very vivacious. So, but I'm generally I like artists. I like sculptors. It's just the taste I have. So anybody who's in that kind of thing, it's like I'm generally apt to help them out, even if I'm not interested in them so much. But Gina was a real beautiful, attractive young lady.
And that was 1993 when you first met?
Yes, I was not all that young. But anyway.
How long were you married?
Oh.
We got married in 96.
Oh, so it didn't take very long for you to pop the question, John.
No, we were like glue. Just I kind of got stuck on her somehow. It's like that was it.
Gina, did he create a sculpture for you as a wedding present?
No, he didn't. But what he has done since is he has taught me how to cast in open sand. I was making figures in wax, and John organized a sand casting party at Isaac Whitkin's studio. Isaac was a sculptor who had apprenticed with Henry Moore and was a very well-known sculptor in his own right, who used a lot of open sand. So I went because it was a party, but then I saw that if I pressed my hands into the sand and ladled the bronze in, something truly amazing started to happen. So
it was like a sandbox.
Yes, it's playing in a sandbox. So I originally created a series with using hands and feet that look like some kind of an ancient symbolic language that you don't quite know what it is. But eventually I started to notice that the hands looked like plants. So I started to make them plants. And out of that grew a series that I'm still working on today, where I do these strange plants that have hands and feet on them that are kind of these human plant hybrids that fuse the energy of plants and humans and their gestures in a way that's at once bizarre but also visually entirely plausible. Like you saw the image on my card and you first thought that it was a fern.
Yes.
So they do have this kind of growing energy to them. And I would never have learned how to make this kind of work without John.
John, after you ladle whatever the molten material is, the bronze, how do you get it out of the sand to make it into...
Just pick it up out of the sand.
How long does it take to cool?
About 20 minutes to a half hour. It's very direct. It's very direct. The other thing about this process is it takes advantage of the fact that we use silicon bronze to cast with. And silicon bronze is readily weldable. So we can take the objects that someone casts, like Gina or me or another artist, some of my students, and weld them together and sort of like make a collage sculpture. And then Gina has spent a lot of time working with the color of bronze, as well as me and our friend Ron Young, who's one of the leading patineurs in the world. We come up with some very interesting colors, so it becomes bronze now, instead of like old guys on horses, is now very colorful and very collage-like. Completely changes the nature of bronze, as Michael Taylor said. Gina, what was that story about Michael Taylor?
Michael Taylor was the former curator of the the Philadelphia Museum of Art. He was saying that bronze is wide open at this point. The aesthetic of bronze, for the most part, is still stuck in the 19th century and the centuries before, and in the old way of working with the former alloy of bronze. And now we confuse the we confuse the traditional sculptural forms of bronze that are modeled and have patinas with the open forms of things like David Smith's sculpture, or that are metal and fabricated.
Well, the Barbara Chase Ribou exhibit at the museum, she has the top half of the sculpture, and they're mammoth sculptures, are bronze, and they look like folded fabric. But the bottom half is real fabric. It's, it must be hundreds of pounds of woven wool and silk. And it was her way of paying tribute to Malcolm X. She saw them as, she pronounces it stele. I thought it was steel. And Gina, your professors call it steely?
Yes.
Okay, they were the ancient, like Egyptian, Greek sculptures that are very tall and very straight.
They're like warriors. They're like they're the former Greek warriors. They were very stiff, archaic.
Right.
They loosened up as they kept working.
Well, Barbara Chase Ribou experiments with the finishes on all of her pieces of sculpture, and they're all different colors as well. Very interesting.
Yeah.
They tie into the colors of the fabric that she uses at the bottom. Absolutely. And I'm charging the two of you with going to the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Oh, we're on our way.
To see, Barbara Chase reboot. And she's a Temple alum. She's a Philadelphia native, although she lives in France now, and she uses a foundry in Milan. Sorry about that, John. Well, but anybody who's in this region should go to the John Phillips casting studio, and they can see his work.
And Gina's.
And Gina's. John's web address is www.phillipscasting.com. That's www.phillipscasting.com. For information, you can call John at 267-303-1355. That's 267-303-1355. And Gina, who says she has a completely different kind of website. Hers is probably interactive, right?
More so.
Yes. It's www.ginamichaels.com. That's GINAMICHAELS.com. And you can reach Gina at 215-713-0505. That's 215-713-0505.
We're always happy to have visitors.
And Gina, is your work on display at galleries, or you just keep it in your studio?
Well, the reason we haven't gotten to the Barbara Chase Review show yet is that I just had a solo show at Imperfect Gallery. It's a new nonprofit space in Germantown. That's a really
Imperfect Gallery. I love the title.
Yes. They're fabulous people who. They are also New York expatriates who moved down and opened a gallery a little over a year ago. They're doing some very innovative things. So we just deinstalled my solo show there on Monday.
How many pieces did you have on display there?
35, I think.
Were they for sale?
Yes, they were for sale.
Did you sell some?
I did. And
that's the important thing, that you sold some, yes. I
sold some, and I've got some more people interested, so we'll see.
Yeah, it was a great show. Rave reviews on that show.
Fantastic.
Really something.
Do you take commissions?
I do. I work with...
What's the weirdest commission that you ever had to fulfill?
Well, I don't... one of my favorites, I don't think it was weird, is that I had a father and son come to the studio and press their hands in the sand. Yes, he was a hand surgeon. And they pressed their hands in the sand, and I made a sculpture out of the father and son's hand. So my favorite to do is family sculpture.
That's interesting. It's like Rodin, I think, was good at doing hands, right?
Yes.
The Rodin Museum, is that one of your favorite places to visit?
Definitely.
Well, they got a lot of bronzes there, right, John?
They do. Indeed, they do.
And you fixed the Rocky statue at one point in time.
I did. Yep.
What was broken with the Rocky statue?
Well, it was installed irreversibly in front of the Spectrum, I believe it was. So they had to dig up half the street, and they broke up the base trying to get it out of there to move it to the art museum.
Move it back to the art museum where it belonged, right?
Yes, there you go. So it was all broken up, and so I was charged with making a reversible mounting system that was strong enough to hold it in place, but to be able to be deinstalled without destroying the sculpture.
That's quite an assignment.
It was.
Oh, my goodness. Amazing. Well, anyway, our guests have been John Phillips, Gina Michaels, and anything you want to know about sculpture and casting, give them a call, and we'll see you next week.